Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. We're studying Bhagavad Gita chapter 17 entitled The Divisions of Faith, text 15. It's July 7th, 2024. We're here at Gopal Eco Village and Cow Sanctuary. So, yesterday morning program, Nilasham, Kirtan Priya Prabhus, and myself, we discussed a verse that, from my perspective, is very related to communication. It's chapter 6, text 32. Atma Pammi Nasarvatra Samam Pashati Yorjuna Sukumbhaya Riba Dukam Sayugi Pramom. Krishna says there, the perfect yogi in comparison with his own self sees the true equality of all living beings, both in their happiness and distress. So we focus there, and it's very connected with listening and empathy. So we can see in the words communication and community, there's the same root. Communication and community have the same root. So yesterday was the auspicious grand opening inauguration festival of Gopal Eco Village. So this is a community. Some of our distinguished visitors were sitting with them during Prasad, and they Bawajin Prabhu and Mr. Agarwal, others, they were saying, yes, this is, yes. So this is, the vision here is to create Vrindavan right here in Central Florida. Create Vrindavan right here. So community and communication, intimately connected. So I thought today we'll focus on another verse that I regard as intimately related to communication from Bhagavad Gita. So this is text 15. We can start with the Sanskrit words responsively. Text 15, chapter 17. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya hitam cha yat svadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate anudvega karam bhakyam satyam priya hitam chayat svadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate anudvega karam bhakyam satyam priya hitam chayat svadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam uchyate anudvega karam bhakyam satyam priya hitam chayat svadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapochite.
Anudvegakaram vakyam.
Anudvegam karam vakyam.
Satyam priyahitam chayat.
Satyam priyahitam chayat.
Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva.
Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva.
Vanmayam tapa uchyate.
Vanmayam tapa uchyate.
Anudvegakaram vakyam.
Anudvegam karam vakyam.
Satyaya priyahitam chayat.
Satyam priyahitam chayat.
Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva.
Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva.
Vanamayam tapa uchyate.
Vanmayam tapa uchyate.
Anudvegakaram vakyam.
Anudvegam karam vakyam.
Satyam priyahitam chayat.
Satyam priyahitam chayat.
Satyaya payasanam chaiva.
Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva.
Vanmayam tapa uchyate.
Vanmayam tapa uchyate.
Anudvegakaram vakyam.
Anudvegam karam vakyam.
Satyam priyahitam chayat.
Satyam priyahitam chayat.
Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva.
Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva.
Vanmayam tapochyate.
Vanmayam tapa uchyate. Anudvega,
Anudvega.
not agitating.
Not agitating.
Karam,
Karam.
producing.
Producing.
Vakyam,
Vakyam.
words.
Words.
Satyam,
Satyam.
truthful.
Truthful.
Priya,
Priya.
dear.
Dear.
Hitam,
Hitam.
beneficial.
Beneficial.
Cha,
Cha.
also.
Also.
Yat,
Yat.
which.
Which.
Svadhyaya,
Swadhyaya.
Vedic study.
Vedic study.
Abhyasanam,
Abhyasanam.
practice.
Practice.
Cha,
Cha.
also.
Also.
Eva,
Eva.
certainly.
Certainly.
Vanmayam,
Vanmayam.
of the voice.
Of the voice.
Tapa,
Tapa.
austerity.
Austerity.
Uchyate,
Uchyate.
is said to be.
Is said to be.
Translation. Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to others who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides them, one should not talk nonsense. I'll just read that again. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. When speaking in spiritual circles, one's statements must be upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayabhupa Kadamayam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Vascha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalalika Shri Vishakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Aschatya Desha Tarine. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, text 15. Anudvegam karam bhakyam satyam priyahitam shayat svadhyaya pyasanam shaiva vanmayam tapo uchite. Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly. Hare Krishna. So in this part of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, and into the beginning part of chapter 18, Sri Krishna, who described in much detail the modes of nature, the gunas, in chapter 14. So now here, he's bringing it to practical application. He discussed in his like 19 or 20 areas of life. And he's saying, here's what they look like in tamas. Here's what they look like in rajas. Here's what they look like in sattva. And here's what they look like in shuddha sattva or bhakti or transcendence. So he discusses many areas of life. Here he's discussing speech. We all speak. Earlier in this chapter, he discusses food. We all eat. So he's saying, here's what eating, here's what food looks like in tamas, in rajas, in sattva, in shuddha sattva. He discusses faith. We all have faith. Every living being has faith, someone might say. I'm not a man of faith, I'm a man of reason. So no, everyone's a person of faith. We might be conscious of it or less conscious of it. So our actions reveal our faith, apart from what we say. Our actions reveal our values, they reveal our faith. So it's just like someone, no, I don't have faith, there's no reason. Like, okay, it means, let's say if I go to a job 50 hours a week, and it means that I have some faith that spending that time, go to that job 50 hours per week, that's going to bring me happiness and fulfillment, and that's going to bring me peace and security. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Okay, if I'm building a house, spending time to relate with these family members, it means I have faith that's going to bring me satisfaction, joy. Okay. So our actions reveal our faith without fail. And it's the nature of the soul to have faith, just like it's the nature of the soul to serve. It's the nature of the soul to seek eternity. Right? That's why we don't want to die. The good news is we don't die. The body definitely 100% will die. It means like someone attacks us with a knife or a gun. We're going to defend. We're going to run away. We're going to fight. We're going to do something. And that's natural because we don't want to die. So our nature is to be deathless. Our nature is to seek knowledge, chit potency. We might seek it in Bhagavad Gita. We might seek it in who's winning Wimbledon. We might seek it in what's happening in the stock market. It's the soul's propensity to seek knowledge. We're going to seek happiness. We're going to seek eternity. We're going to seek service. We're going to serve. We're going to have faith. These are just unavoidable qualities of the soul. Our choice is how to direct our propensity for faith and service. So we can direct our propensity for faith in ignorance. And Krishna talks about what that looks like in passion, in goodness, in Shuddha. Actually, really in this chapter, Krishna speaks about different areas of life in the three modes. And then towards the end of the chapter, he talks about, okay, and the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not material sattva. The ultimate goal is the transcendental objective. And sattva is the best platform for that. An example we've often given, we didn't make up, but this like, let's say if we want to get to Los Angeles, okay. So in the metaphor, Los Angeles is the transcendental goal. It's user imagination. All right. So the best platform to get to Los Angeles is the Orlando Airport. The Orlando Airport. The Orlando Airport represents sattva in the metaphor. Okay, but now let's say I get to the Orlando Airport. Let's say I get to the Orlando Airport. And then I'm in the lounge, the gate, and I'm comfortably situated. Maybe I got 3 seats to myself. There's music playing. And there you get smoothies over here. I got a nice book. This is really pleasant. And this has happened to me. I'm embarrassed to say. This has really happened to me. And then okay, boarding the flight for Los Angeles. Boarding the flight for Los Angeles. Okay. David Wolf here. Last call, boarding the flight for Los Angeles. And I just like miss it. Because I'm so comfortable there at the airport. So then the flight takes on. So in one sense, so sattva, the airport, it is the best launching pad to get to transcendence. It is. But if I get to the airport, if I get to the airport and I don't get on the plane, and it's kind of useless. In one sense, I'm no closer to Los Angeles than I was here in Groveland, Florida. It's kind of useless. So you can say, going to the airport is useless. No, it's actually important to get to the airport as a launching pad for transcendence for Los Angeles. So we're encouraged in our efforts at bhakti. We're encouraged, cultivate sattva, not to neglect sattva. Cultivate sattva in our habits, in our communication, in our cleanliness, in our money management, in all areas of life, in how we direct our charity. Cultivate sattva. That's why this is a science. Cultivate sattva and don't make that the ultimate goal. Both are true. Not to neglect it. If we neglect it, it could become the proverbial spiritual bypass. Not to neglect it. Cultivate sattva, go to the airport, and not to make it the ultimate goal. And that's described in Bhagavad. Sattva can be like a trap. Because to the extent I'm in sattva, I kind of am relatively more happy than those in other modes. I'm kind of relatively more clear-minded and intelligent, more peaceful. So I can become complacent, and at the expense of Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yaje Tapusham, at the expense of engaging in devotional service with urgency, because I'm kind of like content in my material sattvic life. Queen Kunti, she refers to Krishna as Janmeshwara Shutashu Dir Edamanamada Kuman Naiva Yabita Tumbai Twamakinchana Gotra. You, Krishna, you're the shelter for the materially exhausted. Okay. You're the shelter. So they're comfortable at the airport. Relatively, of course, material happiness, it's not the actual positive happiness of the soul. It's relative relief from misery. Prabhupada gives the example that in some, maybe in former ages, maybe today in some places, like if a criminal and they want to punish a criminal, they'll tie him to a chair and dunk him under water. Terrible, terrible suffering. But then before he drowns, they lift him up. Yes, okay. And after a bit, back to him. It's a terrible, terrible torture. But then when the person is lifted up, gasping for air, then the thoughts are, this is happiness. This is happiness. It's not happiness. It's relief from misery. So just like I'm suffering in so many ways from the mind, I'm suffering in so many ways from others, from finances, from health, and so on. But if I see like, oh, there's my neighbor, and she's even more miserable than me.
Yay.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. That's worth celebrating. Yeah, that's relatively good. Okay. So now I'm happy, actually. That's not happy. It's relative. It's relative. So, but the positive happiness of the soul that comes from the transcendental bhakti process. So this materially exhausted. That's not intrinsically a function of having lots of material opulence or no material opulence. It can work both ways. There's a text in Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna says, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yogo Brashto Vijayate. Krishna says that one who kind of practices some bhakti in this life, but doesn't quite complete, they might take a birth in a wealthy aristocratic family. So let's try to understand that. Let's try to understand that. Because if we look, for the most part in the world, let's say those who are like super wealthy, for the most part, they're not using their time and wealth to create projects like Gopal Eco Village. They're not using their wealth for transcendental purposes. For the most part, such persons are using their wealth more in a way that entangles themselves and others for their material life. But, so why does Krishna say that? The idea that Krishna is presenting there is that, okay, there's advantages to be, let's say, born in a family of great wealth, because then we don't have to work hard at some job to pay the electric bill. And then there's time to cultivate the higher principles, higher consciousness of life. Then there's time to focus on chanting and Bhagavatam. Now, especially in Kali Yuga, most squander that opportunity, but that's the idea. Because then, then we don't need to seek after. So someone with billions and billions of dollars in wealth, they might be greedy and demoniac and like that, and they want more and more power, or they might be materially exhausted. They might be like, that happens, like, yeah, I got the fame, I got the prestige, I got the adoration, people worship me because they want something from me, not like they really adore me or something, but I got the money, I can buy anything I want, And you know what? I realize this doesn't bring happiness. And then be materially exhausted. And there could become someone completely poverty stricken, maybe dead, no money, completely poverty stricken, maybe poor health, just like that. And say, oh, so they're materially exhausted. No, because maybe their consciousness is like, why does he have that nice house on the hill? I want that. And she doesn't deserve that. And they might just be full of greed and lust and envy. Or they could be completely poverty stricken and they get, material, it's suffering. Hare Krishna. So cultivate sattva, not to make it the ultimate goal. And this is the process that Prabhupada gave us. Here in this particular verse, Krishna is speaking about speech. Yes, he's speaking about speech. And he uses the term, for some, this part of this might be like a rerun from parts of PPTC. I just want to say that. And that's our coach training, because we talk about, interestingly, we talk about communication in coach training. Shocking as it may be. Okay, so austerity of speech. Well, what's that mean? Austerity of speech. Austerity means to give up some immediate pleasure, some immediate gratification for longer term fulfillment. That's the essence of austerity. Lord Rishabhadev, speaking to his sons headed by Bharat Maharaj, says, Nayam dehu deham vajam loke kastankamam arti vid bujamye tapo divyam. Tapo, it means austerity. Tapo means heat. Right? Okay, just like we were in a porch yesterday. There was some heat there. There was some heat on that porch. And I felt purified. There was heat, not just the heat, but the heat, the mantra. Hiranyakashipu, he did austerity for demoniac purposes, but he got a lot of strength from his austerity, from the heat. There's purification in the heat of austerity. So Lord Rishabhadev says, don't settle for the sort of gratifications and so-called pleasures that are available to the stool eaters, like pigs and dogs. Human life is especially meant for austerity that brings ever increasing, limitless, ever deepening bliss. And that's austerity, at least in sattva, and more fully in transcendence, devotional service. So here, Krishna talks about the austerity of speech. So we can think, so the austerity of speech is one, truthful. Yeah, so I know for myself, sometimes it's an austerity to speak the truth. Okay, either I'd like to fib or just give a blatant lie. It'd be easier. Okay, as the saying goes, if we're only willing to do what's easy, life will be hard. If we're willing to do what's hard, life will be easy. Because in all fields, let's say, for me, it was kind of hard to get up before 4 a.m. this morning. But now life is easy. Here we are, like 4.5 hours later, and I'm feeling energized and looking forward to the day and spiritually enlivened because we did Mangalarti and Nrsimha Day prayers and chanted japa. Okay, it would have been easier to sleep till noon. That would be easier. Stay in bed till noon, but then life's hard. I didn't chant anything. I have to do that. Now I'm enlivened. So in any area. So in speech, somebody can feel easier. Either not necessarily to lie, but there's also just blatant lie. There's little fibs like that, or just to withhold the truth. Because if I actually speak the truth here, I might risk disapproval, right? I might risk people not liking me, like that. If I actually speak the truth. So that can be difficult. But now if I withhold the truth out of fear, and there's a distinction, many times in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about mauna, silence, there's a distinction between choosing to be silent from intelligent discretion. Right now, there are things I could say, there are things I could point out, and I'm choosing silence. That's different than, oh, I'm too scared to speak, out of my false ego, and people, what will people think? Okay, so to speak truthfully, that can be an austerity. It can be austerity. And then say, okay, but then there can be, it can also sometimes be relatively easy to say, okay, I'm just gonna blurt out the truth. Here it is, in your face, truth, honest feedback. Can you handle it? I'm just speaking the truth. All right, but then, we might think, unfortunately, Krishna says, truthfully and beneficially. Oh, because sometimes in the name of just, here's the truth, see if you can handle it. To what extent am I taking out my unhealed wounds on you in the name of truth? To what extent am I truly coming from a caring place? I mean, like Srila Prabhupada, so many instances, sometimes even in practically like a first meeting, he would be so heavy, like so heavy with the truth. But people never took offense to him, because from his purity they got like, I don't like what he just said. What he just said is very uncomfortable and unpleasant, and I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But he's not being unpleasant. But he's really coming from a caring, compassionate place. So we want to follow that example without blindly imitating it. If I artificially try to be as bold and cutting like a sadhu, like Prabhupada, the results probably won't be so auspicious, because people are getting like, I'm not coming from that pure place. Okay. And that's where I kind of like to create that trust. But Prabhupada created that trust just by his presence. We talked yesterday in the class, right? The Atma Pormi and Asarva Trumpers. That's yes, that's why I like to people don't care what you know till they know that you care. Often a great way to show that we care is to suspend our judgment, suspend our opinion, suspend our advice, suspend our praise, suspend our criticism, and show understanding. And Prabhupada often did that. And to some extent, Prabhupada didn't need to do that, because he automatically inspired trust. And so like there was that implicit permission. He could be so direct. And so we want to assess to what extent in giving the truth am I truly coming from a caring place? And to what extent do I have some other agenda, like, see, I'm right and you're wrong. I'm superior. See, I'm the smarter one here. To what extent is my heart clean and pure? And I'm not coming to try to belittle someone, hurt them, damage them, put them down. I'm truly communicating truthfully, like in the name of care, not that I'm going to withhold the truth out of fear, but in the name of care, I'm going to communicate the truth in a way where I'm giving my 100%, where I'm coming from a win-win place. I'm not trying for you to put you down. I'm trying to enhance our realization of truth about me, truth about you, truth about Siddhanta. And that gets to another point in this verse, that yes, that the Svadhyaya Vyasanam chapter. When Krishna says one should recite the Vedas regularly, and Prabhupada says, that's such a great, that's a soundbite there. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. Ooh, that stings. Oh, if I give up talking all the nonsense, what's left? Oh my God. Okay. So it means that, okay, so we're speaking truthfully, and our intention is truly beneficial for everyone, and and we're truly serving self-realization. We're serving the absolute truth. Our speech is consistent with serving the Siddhanta of Prabhupada to support the person or the group of persons and myself to deepen our connection with absolute knowledge. Veda means knowledge. Veda means knowledge. And so, in other words, like, you know, we said at the beginning, yesterday there was a grand opening of this community. So community means communication. There's a listening part of communication. We quoted Paul Tillich, the Christian philosopher, yesterday. The first duty of love is to listen. And now we're talking about the expression part of communication. And so it's Rupa Goswami describes essential qualities and characteristics of relationships that are truly intended to support self-discovery, super soul connection, Krishna consciousness, dadati, patagrinati, guyam akiti prichati, the capacity to share creating a space where it's a safe place to share the heart and mind confidentially and to inquire confidentially. Not just for the sake of like, what are you feeling? What am I feeling? I think this, you think that. Not just for the sake of like communication skills, but rather a communication-based approach to self-realization. We're truly supporting each other in realizing who we are in our truthful communication, beneficial and ultimately beneficial, truly supporting each other to realize who we are. As not the body of spirit, soul, Jivara, Sruboy, Krishnera, Nichidas, Krishnera, Tatasta Shakti, Beta, Prakash, eternal servants of Krishna. Okay, then we're fully aligned, truthful, beneficial, aligned with the absolute truth. And then we're fully aligned with Krishna's statement in this verse. And so, you know, back in the 1990s, as part of our PhD dissertation, we developed the Vedic Personality Inventory. It's a personality assessment tool based on the psychology of the gunas as described in Bhagavad Gita, also Bhagavatam, but really the items on the Vedic Personality Inventory, they're derived from chapters 14, 17, and 18 of Bhagavad Gita, including this verse. And our professors, they asked us, well, why do you want to develop such a thing? What's your inspiration? So what came out of me was I want to explore the development of an empirical basis for happiness, an empirical basis for life satisfaction, for fulfillment, for inner peace, for security, for joy, for happiness, all those qualities that all spirit souls are looking for, often in misdirected ways. And because the Vedas, very scientifically, the Vedas assert a hypothesis. The hypothesis is, to the extent that spiritual beings having a human experience cultivate sattvic worldviews and habits, including habits related to listening and expressing, that will correspond positively to all those qualities we're looking for: satisfaction, fulfillment, vitality, joy, happiness, peace, etc., etc. And so in the Vedic Personality Inventory studies, using statistical methods like factor analysis, and the Maha Mantra studies, which we also did as part of our dissertation, using statistical methods like multivariate analysis, it's like a whole language there. Using these methods, the methods strongly validate the Vedic assertions. So we get, in terms of modern social science, strong validation for the Vedic paradigm. And so this is coming to closure here. Yeah, so to cultivate that austerity of speech, and again, for me, it's an austerity. It can often be easier to not say anything, or to kind of slip around the truth a bit. It can also be easy to just like blurt it out, but not from really a caring place. I got my ego involved. involved, and I want to hurt you back in the name of truth. But in austerity, to really speak the truth in a way where I'm really going deep inside myself, communicating a way where you get it. I'm truly caring about you, even though what I have to say might be you you might not agree with, but I'm not being disagreeable. I'm not being unpleasant. I'm not being arrogant. I'm not being obnoxious. I'm not being egotistical. At the same time, I'm not withholding the truth. So Krishna says, Mam chiyogi abhicharyan bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati etan brahma bhuya kapate. By engaging in devotional service, one automatically, naturally, is transcendental to the modes of material nature. There's also a verse. This verse is 5th canto of Bhagavatam, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. He talks about the qualities of a soul immersed in transcendental devotion. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat yakinchana sarver gunesta trasamasate sara harava bhakta sekutoma adguna manoritena sati devatoba. It says that someone who's truly giving themselves to devotional service, to service to Krishna, naturally, automatically has all the sattvic qualities of the demigods. So this is philosophically true. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayaya Shubhayagam Gyanam Chadahitukam. Someone serving Vasudeva in Bhakti Yoga naturally has detachment and knowledge and all the sattvic qualities. This is true. The danger is to start believing that such verses apply to me. Oh, look, I was at Mangalarti this morning. I'm wearing these things. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That means I'm a devotee. That means I automatically have all the good qualities of patience and tolerance and compassion and sattvic speech. And I don't even need to think about those things. Okay, that could be risky. A more humbly healthy approach is to realize that those verses are philosophically true. And then the verses in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and the Vedas that describe spirit souls struggling with the lower modes of tamas and rajas. Oh, okay. That describes me. So part of my process of bhakti is to cultivate the sattvic qualities, including knowledge, including sattvic speech and sattvic listening, and sattvic cleanliness, and like that. Not, again, back to the airport example, not to cultivate sattva to make that the goal, but as part of my endeavor to follow Prabhupada. Prabhupada was sometimes asked, how will someone know that someone's your follower? He said, oh, there will be perfect ladies and gentlemen. He could have said, they'll be overflowing in prema love for Krishna. So there'll be perfect ladies and gentlemen, sattvic qualities. So we cultivate sattva, realizing that the airport is not the ultimate goal. Cultivate sattva as part of our service. Cultivate knowledge as part of our service. And it goes both ways. We cultivate sattva, and that's the most powerful platform to choose into transcendence. And importantly, Savai Pumsam Prodamo to Bhaktira Hukshija I took it Pratita in Yayat Masuprasidati. That the process of bhakti is not dependent on anything material. So it's not like I can't really do bhakti till I'm completely at the airport in sattva. And that's not true either. Bhakti is transcendental. So even if just like, I got no sattvic stuff going on today, there's no transformation happening for me today. Today I'm just in this yes, this miasmic swamp of Kali Yuga, Rajas and Tamas, and just self-deception and envy and shame and depression. I'm just in the muck. and I choose bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. From wherever we're at, we get to choose bhakti, and immediately we get to experience the modes of nature of our consciousness raised. So bhakti brings up the consciousness at the same time. In the name of bhakti's transcendental, we don't want to neglect cultivation of sattvic qualities. So today we're studying and discussing Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, text 15. Anudvegam karam bhakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam topo uchyate. Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially, and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly. Hare Krishna, thanks for giving your oral reception to Bhagavad Gita. I welcome at this time any comments, questions, sharing. Kirtan Priya. Hare Krishna.
Very applicable to me. My question is, I understand that we should avoid speaking words that would offend someone.
Yes.
But sometimes you are in this mode where you feel very strong about something.
Yeah.
And somebody's doing something, maybe at least you personally, let's
Seems
say, I feel
irritating,
like
annoying.
it's not happening the right way.
Yeah.
And you blur out.
Yeah.
You just say, no, this is not right, you gotta do it this way.
Yeah.
Obviously,
This is not acceptable.
yes.
Yeah.
But in the sense, I'm talking about more on a transcendental level, that you're thinking about something that should be done certain way.
Mhm.
But it's not being done, not because it's personal, but
Yeah.
something else, that's more of a.
Yeah.
And then in turn, the person may feel offended, you may have hurt the person.
Yeah.
And you feel bad about it, that you
Mhm.
didn't mean it that
Yeah.
way to hurt the person, you
Mhm.
meant to like
Then you feel bad.
put things the way it should have been.
Yeah.
So what do you do in this case?
Okay.
Like it's a short circuit, you just blur it out.
Again, it's a very practical question you're asking.
I am,
Because these situations come up for you and for me, and probably for everyone here. Jai Narayan Prabhu, you have a comment?
Yeah, what she's saying, first I'd like to say that this is like the perfect verse for me, because I'm real critical of others, and this is really good, I even like the verse, I don't remember this verse. But what she said, there's a verse in the Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's one should not speak the truth, according to social convention.
Yeah.
One should not speak the truth unless it's palatable.
Yeah.
But that is not truthfulness. The truth must be spoken. The facts must be said as they are for the benefit of others.
Yeah,
Something like
but
that.
yeah.
But the key
Satyam
thing,
Priya Bhura, yeah, right.
yeah, you guys are real pundits. But the key point I find in this purport is Prabhupada says, of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth. He can speak for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to others who are not his students, if you agitate their mind. So it sort of depends on the person you're talking to. Does he want to hear an instruction like that? You follow what I'm saying? So you have to discern, this guy wants to, like yesterday, for many years, I've said, Chinta Veda Veda Tapas, just, when I remember, but he pointed out when we were sitting there, it was Chinta Veda Aveda Tapa. So I'm like, thanks, and I appreciate you straightening me out.
Yeah.
But what is the other thing? I was saying, there's another verse that says, it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that, what is it? One should not avoid controversial subjects, because by such controversy, one's mind becomes strengthened.
Yeah.
So it's just like everything, there's this and that side, this side, that side, you have to, that's the difference between Gyan, Vigyan. You have knowledge, but you have to know how to apply it practically.
The actual wisdom, the realization.
Right. And that's what, of course, so was there something else I was going to say about that? Yeah, so it's a really, really first class verse.
You're appreciating this verse that we
Because I'm kind of like a steamroller, and also I'm a fanatic because I worked as a mechanic. If you rebuild a Jaguar engine, you leave one bolt loose on the inside, You know, it can destroy the whole engine, cost you thousands of dollars. You have to be like perfect.
Exactly,
And Krishna consciousness is the same way.
yes.
It's the, what is it called, the razor's edge,
Mhm.
right?
Razor's edge.
So that's why if I make a mistake, oh, it's no, right, it's Veda of it. Yeah. So can I point out a couple things I see in this one? Because many things change in this one. Just simple things.
I'm suggesting at this time, we're
It's
not,
not about philosophy, it's just some simple things about pronunciation or about some trenches, like I've never heard Prabhupada say, and we always learn, I've always heard Prabhupada say, Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya. What does Bhaja mean? Worship?
Mhm.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. But somehow or other now it's changing Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. And there's supposedly some letter someone says, I've never seen it, but I've never heard Prabhupada say that. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, that's correct. And also,
That's very true, yeah.
and then someone said there was some letter that some Mayavadis were chanting, they told me this, or Prabhupada changed it, well, I haven't seen that letter, and I don't even believe it. You know, don't change the mantra, who made that mantra, was it Jayadvaita, anyway, and the other point I make is like when.
I'd like to come to completion in responding and discussing to Kirtan Priya's question. And I appreciate very much.
I just want to make that point that we should,
Yeah.
because everything starts changing, pretty soon they'll be chanting some other mantra.
Mhm.
And the same thing is with Prabhupada. Pada is Pada, and the lines over the A. It's Prabhupada or Prabhupada. It's not Prabhupada. Is it not? But everybody's chanting Prabhupada. It's not their fault. As soon as one person starts chanting wrong, everyone's chanting. Am I right about that pronunciation thing? You don't want to discuss. Anyway, the Istagosti, this is for Istagosti points, which is open discussion like we're having. Freedom of speech, it's like in the government now, they're clamping down, no freedom of speech, you can't go online, talk about this or that. So these are important things, and Istagosti is the most important. Even when people talk about America being free, it was Kennedy was saying, yeah, the freedom of speech is the whole, like one guy said, I may disagree with you, vehemently, disagree with you, but I'll fight to the death for your right to speak. So similar in ISKCON, it's just, you know what I mean? So similar in ISKCON, this is a very important point, but people stop discussion, they don't like what you're saying. And the other good point that's really good here is it says, Robert says, one should at once quote from a scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. That's beautiful. And whenever I asked the question when I joined Rabati Nana, he would open the book. Well, this is what Paul said. All right, and so her question, I don't know if you want to make a point to her question. So you have to discern, is this person want to hear what I'm saying? Is he going to be like my student? Or is he going to take offense because he thinks he's superior? Why am I telling him something? He's superior to me. Why am I speaking him out? Is that like your question? It was that if you want to say something, they're doing something wrong. You don't want to offend. Of course, it's also like I'm like a loud guy. It's also.
I'm a steamer too, like you, bro.
It's also the tone of voice. Like
Yes.
please, and I'm like, because I'm a mechanic. We're like wrestling engines and hammers and so it's not what someone told me many years ago. And this is like the perfect verse for me. I'm like, I really appreciate that.
You're inspired by this verse.
So it's not what you say, how you say.
Yes.
That's the real thing.
That's the real thing too, yes, I agree.
That's biblical.
I appreciate what you're expressing, Jai Narayan Prabhu. And then something that comes to me in relation to the discussion. So it's vital, it's important that I'll speak in I statements here, that I'm taking a look at myself, at what's my tone of voice, what's my intention in speaking so-called truthfully, and that I'm avoiding speech that offends. Now, even if theoretically and hypothetically, even if I was perfect at that, because I'm a pure devotee, hypothetically, that means no one will ever get offended. No, wrong. Okay. So it's one thing, yeah, let's humbly look. If someone is feeling offended and hurt, okay, let me take an honest look. How could I have been more gentle? How can I have been more, more caring in what I expressed? At the same time, let's look at those who are actually pure devotees. Let's say someone like Jesus, right? So Jesus's speech was always intended for the benefit of everyone. He's coming from a pure heart, and no one ever got offended by, no, actually some crucified him. Let's look at Srila Prabhupada. Same thing, right? No, many felt very envious and threatened, and some crucified him in different ways, right? Yeah.
It was the bogus gurus put the Romans up to it, the Parsis.
So
They didn't like him speaking, don't do business
Yeah.
in the temple, you overturn the tables, and Prabhupada said the same thing, don't do business, the temple's not for business. Christ said the church is for prayer and meditation. So the bogus gurus at that time didn't like that. And they put the Romans up to get rid of him, isn't it? Is that right?
it's the way I'm seeing it.
Pardon me?
Well, what I said is, the
I'm
way,
sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
you know. It has to do with people being envious, because the prophet says, the mature means envious, so they became envious of Christ. And people become envious of Prabhupada, envious of whatever. So then they want to get rid of it.
because there's also the point that you're a very powerful person, and you're a very powerful person, and you're all very powerful people, and you're not powerful enough to hurt anyone. Now, in saying that, I'm not encouraging to be callous and insensitive and uncaring. The whole class and discussion yesterday was about empathy and care. People don't care what you know till they know that you care. Okay. At the same time, the way I see it, our responsibility is to take an honest look. To what extent did I give my 100% sincere effort to share my truth, to share my perspective, to share Prabhupada Siddhanta in a way where I'm truly coming from a caring place. Doesn't mean everyone will agree with me like that. And if I see like I'm really in my integrity in doing that, then if others, and my experience in life, when I'm in my integrity and I stand for Prabhupada Siddhanta and I stand for truth and I stand for principle, some people really respect me. Lots of people admire me and they're inspired by me. And some people get really angry with me. Just like I use that metaphor to take a stand. When I take a stand for truth, some people are going to throw rocks or shoot bullets to try to get me to sit down and shut up. And some people will become envious and some people love me. And for me, it's about, I'm here to give my sincere effort to do my service. And in doing my service, and that might mean establishing boundaries in a temple. In doing my service, it might mean sharing, like, here's the standards. Here's the standards. I'm not saying I'm perfectly following them, but here's the standard according to what Srila Prabhupada gave. And do my service in a caring, loving way and bold. We're meant to be bold for Prabhupada, but not use bold as an excuse to be reckless. Not as an excuse to be reckless. Bold, using intelligent discretion. And if I look, I'm really in my integrity, then others might be so inspired and admire me, and others might hate me and feel hurt. That's between them and Krishna. Just like, again, we use those truly pure examples. Jesus, Prabhupada, they were so bold, and they were completely came from 100% caring place. And some got envious and hateful, and and hurt. And that doesn't mean that the pure devotee is going to shut up and sit down. So those are some principles that come to mind.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
I think, sorry, Hare Krishna. You know, this verse is so very appropriate, especially for a bunch of illiterates. We all over here have stood by a lot of nonsense which has been thrown to us.
Yeah, Prabhupada uses that term there.
Yes. And we are Prabhupada's disciples, a very Prachula Prabhupada. If you listen to his lectures, he will say this word many times. Rascal.
Rascal.
Rascal number one.
Yeah.
You see? So, you know, there are these interesting parts which come about, that this is a very thin line. What we have to always remember is whenever we talk, whenever we share our viewpoints, we have to remember these three things. Desh, Kal, Patra and Paristhiti.
Thanks for that. Yeah, yeah.
What are they?
Desh, where are you speaking?
Place,
Yeah,
Place.
right.
Desh, Kal, time.
time,
Patra, who are you speaking to?
Yeah.
person, group, yeah.
The person.
Student, not student.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, you know. And fourth is Paristhiti, circumstances. What are these four things, and you speak accordingly? Desh, Kal, Patra and Paristhiti. This is
Yeah.
very, very good.
Yeah, very important. That's
Yes.
Monday movie.
You can be standing tall wherever you want to. You can be standing tall when you speak. You can be standing tall even with your silence.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
But there are many people who would not understand your silence. And when you have to stand tall amongst that, you have to speak.
Mm.
And there are many people who are so sensitive that your silence will speak volumes. So it is all about Desh, Kal, Patra and Paristhiti. But ultimately, it is always spoken for the benefit of others.
Yeah.
Remember, you are talking to that person is not to put him down, to
Mhm.
prove yourself you're right, but you're talking to that person so that that person improves on his association or his dealings with other people. You see, you can talk anything to me. I'm a rhetoric, I've been subjected to all these things. So I'm hard-skinned now.
You're
It
what?
has, I'm hard-skinned.
Well, hard skin, yeah.
Yes,
Thick
it doesn't,
skin.
yeah, thick-skinned. I don't care what you would say or what it is. I'm very clear in my approach towards what I need to do, which is sincerity to Prabhupada.
You're clear in your principles and your integrity.
Correct,
You're convinced,
correct,
convinced.
exactly. I like the analogy which you gave about the airport. About going to the airport, Sattva, catching the flight to Golok Vrindavan. But let me add a little twist to the story.
Sure.
What if I want to go on that flight more than you? What would you do? The flight is full, I'm on a standby, you have a confirmed ticket on the flight from Orlando to Los Angeles, what will you do? What will Srila Prabhupada teach us what to do? Am I going to be the one? No, I've got the ticket, I've got confirmed, I am going back home, back to God. He never tells us we are doing this because remember, in the material world, we do everything for a certain result. It's all result oriented. But spiritually, what we are talking about, you just need to develop love for God. Then whether Krishna throws you in Patal Lok or whether Krishna takes you back home to Godhead, that is his prerogative, not mine.
Mm.
So if there is somebody who's more eager to get onto the flight, spiritually speaking, will you say, yes, Prabhu, please, go ahead. Do you think you'll be left behind in the airport? Will Krishna allow you to do that? Because here I'm sitting and I'm seeing the fluttering of the leaves on that tree. And I'm thinking, even the leaf cannot flutter without Krishna's permission.
Mhm.
So imagine this part. So why are we so, I want to go back on back. I want to go back on back. No. Let us develop that purity. Because this is where that word, Swa Adhyay Abhyasana.
Mhm.
What is the translation?
Swa means what? Yourself. So Adhyay.
Situated in
To
the
study.
self, yeah.
You're studying about yourself. So what does Prabhupada give us that word to word meaning on Swadhyay? Study of Vedic study, he says. You will not understand who you are until you read the Vedas. So his books, reading his books, okay? So now when we say the science of Krishna consciousness, why doesn't he say the art of Krishna consciousness?
It's truth, it's science, it's.
No, what is the difference between science and art? Let's talk on a mundane level. When you go to talk to an art student, does he ever go to the lab? No, there is no lab. When you're studying a science subject, there is a didactic part
Yeah,
and then there is a lab part. You cannot understand science until you integrate the two, which is your didactics and your practicals.
Dialectics.
Didactics means theory.
the
When
theory,
you go
Dialectics.
Yes, didactics.
Hydrogen and water mix, hydrogen, oxygen mix water.
Yeah, but you study that, you first study that in a classroom.
Right, yeah.
And then
You
it
get through.
takes you, says, here is hydrogen, here is oxygen, see what happens when I mix the two.
So that's confirmed.
So this is what we call Swa-Adhyaya. Swa-Adhyaya is self-study, but that self-study will be got only from the Vedic literature. That's why Prabhupada said what? Study of the Vedic literature. Abhyasena is practice. So you may read the Vedas,
But
but if you don't
practice it.
put it into practice, you're not doing Krishna consciousness. You see? So this is the beauty of this whole aspect, is that where to speak, how to speak, where, to whom you're speaking, and what is the circumstance in which you're speaking.
Very important. Think before
You
you
see?
speak.
Yeah, but at the same time, see, Prabhupada says over here, is that what? Of course, when a teacher, he speaks, he can speak the truth for the instructions of his students. You can be razor edge, you can give that truth as what Prabhupada was saying, Prabhuji was saying, give him that straightness. Why? Because we want him to
Because we're
improve
students.
upon it. We are students of the same university.
We've accepted him. as teacher.
Exactly.
Sishya, Sishya.
So, but should not speak to others who are not his students. So as your call was, what about ISKCON? What about, no, they've chosen not to be the students. So
What's that?
anything. What about ISKCON? What about others? They've chosen not to be the students.
Oh, yeah. But they've chosen not to allow any speech.
That is different.
No speech.
But the idea is they have chose themselves not to be students.
They know it all.
Doesn't matter whatever their perspective may be. They have chosen to be not students.
Fanatics.
So what we need to do, you can label whatever you want. But remember, for us, for our own peace of mind, if they are not chosen to be our students, why bother? Why bother? So Swa-Adhyaya. But this is so very critical for all us because we are so strong in our approaches and everything. And to be a little conscientious about it, and Prabhupada says it so nicely. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Talking to people who are students and talking to people who are not students. But do we have the clarity as Jesus Christ? Please let me change things, what I can change, and please let me accept things which I cannot change, and the intelligence to distinguish between the two.
That's Christ.
Serenity prayer.
That's alcoholic.
Serenity prayer.
Serenity prayer.
That's AA.
Yes.
That's
from
very-
Saint
that's a-
Francis,
that-
representing Christ.
Yeah, that's a really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And like, I remember there's a letter from Prabhupada, December 1972. And just following up on what you're sharing, Neela Prabhu, and Prabhupada writes to his disciple, he writes, he said, the highest perfection of your Krishna consciousness is shown to the extent that you're capable to share, to communicate these timeless principles of Bhakti Yoga in such a way that no matter who you're talking to, they're going to respond positively. They're going to be encouraged. And I could just, and my understanding is Prabhupada's, he's emphasizing the principle of time, place, circumstance, meaning whether it's a verse we read today, or it's Dihinosmin Yata Dehe, the difference between the soul and body, the principle of karma, the principle of paramatma, whatever, whether we're talking to a group of 5-year-olds, or we're talking to yogi new agers, or we're talking to university professors or corporate business people, that we're not just slapping it on here, I'm giving the knowledge, but we're so connected with super soul in our heart and super soul in your heart and their hearts, that we get inspired, just like Prabhupada always did in inconceivable ways. We get inspired that whoever we're speaking to, whatever principle of Krishna consciousness, we're able to communicate it, whether it's with our words or our silence or our gestures. We're able to communicate in a way where whoever we're speaking to, they'll feel met where they're at and inspired to grow in spiritual life, in Krishna consciousness and super soul connection.
Rapport.
Rapport,
That's
Yeah.
the word, isn't it?
rapport, yeah, establish rapport. Personal, we're personalists. Establish
You know,
rapport.
on the memories, there's a memory that the guy said, anyone who went to Prabhupada's problems always left satisfied. You know, and often when I preach, I give out favors of preaching. I always, after I go away, I always think, what could I do? When I'm looking at the people, so what can I do to, how can I say the right thing for this person? You know, it's like a battle. It's like, I should have said that differently, so the guy would have got it, you know.
Yeah,
Because you have to do that, what you were saying. That's a great class.
You know, because it's interesting, we're reading the Bhagavad Gita, the entire chapter 1,
yeah,
Arjuna tries to empathize with our normal thought process. Our normal thought process. Imagine if you have never read the Bhagavad Gita, you're reading, why would you want to kill your teacher? Why would you want to kill your grandfather?
Yeah, yeah.
Just for a piece of land. That sounds very good. And what is Krishna says the first thing he speaks? What nonsense are you talking?
Ashochan, Vashochan, Pagavadam, Chabasa say, Gatasuna Sumsa, Nandashotanti Pandit, you're speaking like a fool.
Yeah, you're speaking like an unintelligent
Now,
person.
now this is when we talk about the student.
Yeah.
Who is a student, who is not a student. Imagine me telling somebody, what nonsense are you talking?
But yeah, and Prabhupada emphasized it, because that was, that text 2.11 is after 2.7, and in 2.7, Arjuna says, okay, now I'm a soul surrendered into you.
Right, he stops being a conversation, he says, no more, friend, now I surrender
Yeah.
to you to get instruction, then he becomes a student. And so this quote was after that, and he calls him a fool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we can notice that all through chapter 1 and through those first 10 verses of chapter 2, Krishna listened to Arjuna, even though Arjuna maybe was speaking like a fool.
Right.
And that relates to, we quoted Paul Tillich, the first duty of love is to listen. And Arjuna, he expressed himself honestly, even though he was in Maya in the past time, of course, Arjuna's a pure.
Pretend.
Yeah, Arjuna shared his experience of feeling and his experience of physical sensation, and he was trembling in his experience of thought. And we can understand it required a lot of courage for Arjuna to express himself so truthfully, because he's the alpha warrior of the age. And what he was feeling was not warrior-like.
He was speaking through a materialistic point of view.
He was experiencing weakness and cowardly and sentimental.
Right.
So he wasn't putting up a warrior mask. And so Krishna heard him. Arjuna felt received and heard. Arjuna says, Karpanidosha patasvabhava. Now I'm your disciple. And then Krishna had permission to instruct like a sadhu.
Not ready to get shot.
But probably you made a very nice point is that Arjuna was the alpha male
Yeah,
of his time.
he was.
Kshatriya. But remember, is that time there was Chaturvarna Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasa.
Yeah,
It was based on Guna and Karma.
yeah,
Today's day and age, people self-declare themselves as alpha males and alpha this and alpha that. They have not gone through any kind of Gurukula environment where they have been studied and their tendencies have been
they're not
noted.
actually trained.
And they have not gone about. So it becomes more tricky over here in these day and ages where somebody portrays themselves to be an alpha male, somebody that portrays themselves to be the most subservient, but when it could be something totally different.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
And everyone has different natures of some of this.
So that's a-
These are these psychological terms, alpha male,
Yeah, but
everyone is unique, which is inconceivable. And everything's by your qualification.
That's all we have to say.
Jai Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai, bonafide Prabhupada bhaktas ki jai.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Machine's off,
Yes.
I'm gonna turn off the recording.
That's okay.
you got me on the camera.
That doesn't matter, if you speak the
I'm
truth,
just asking.
if you speak the truth, what difference does it make? Yeah.